So hello, my name's Claire. I'm the owner and operator of the Therapists Network, and today I'm delighted to be talking to Priya, who is a relationship counsellor, a psychotherapist and an expert in this field. And I will be asking Priya some questions today about the work that she does and an upcoming offer that she has. So Priya, please introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
Oh, right. Well, hello, Claire.
Hello.
Well, what I do is I'm a psychotherapist or counsellor. Interesting. Some people don't quite know the difference. I don't think there's a lot of difference, but I'm both. And I specialise in relationships, really. I do see individuals as well, but mostly I work with couples. And yeah, I'm passionate about relationships, and that's my speciality. I also have a little side speciality in that because I'm married and have been for 20 years to a man with ADHD, I'm quite good on supporting people when one of them has ADHD in their relationship. So, and I see people online and in person. I might add with COVID tests beforehand, all of us do.
Yeah, quite. That's fabulous. So I like that you're able to draw on your own personal experiences as part of what you offer.
Yeah.
So how long have you been practicing being a therapist and doing relationships? And
you know what, more years than I can number, actually. I think, well, I've been a psychotherapist, I think, since 1984, but I think I started going towards relationships probably in about the first 5 years of my practice. So it's quite a long time. Yeah, and I felt very drawn to relationships. And actually, what I noticed was all my clients, even if they were coming about any other thing, always ended up talking about relationships because it seems so core to people in their lives. So that's what struck me and really excited me, actually, to work in that area.
Fabulous. Fabulous. So I'm imagining that couples will have like preconceived ideas of why a relationship therapist would be needed, or even why you would get involved with one. What do couples commonly misunderstand about what you do that later surprises or even delights them?
Well, I think there's one thing particularly that I would say about that is that they might not realize that I'm going to get them talking to each other. I'm going to get them engaged with each other because I think that's so key. And they just think they're going to sit there and chat to me. And I think a lot of therapists do that. But I am really adamant that I want to support them in dialogue with each other. Not the whole session, obviously, but I never feel quite right if we don't do some of that in a session. And it does surprise them sometimes. I might suddenly say, so would you like to turn to each other? And they get all giggly, you know. But then they realize how helpful it is to speak to one another, especially if it's about something they're, you know, having difficulties with. And I really support them in how they communicate to one another. Yeah.
Brilliant. So what would you say was your greatest achievement in helping a couple or couples so far?
Well, this is true. I'm not making this up. I once had a couple come to me who had never had sex physically, either with each other or with anybody else. And they'd been together, I think it was 12 years. And it took me about 2 years. We had to go very slowly, I can tell you. We went very slowly and through all sorts of gentle exercises and inner images and all sorts of things. They finally had sex with one another. And that day we all went crazy in my in my therapy room when they told me. We were all so happy. It was so sweet and yeah, very special. And that's I think I'll never forget that one.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's really important, isn't it? Because
Mhm.
while sex isn't necessarily the most important part of a relationship, I feel intimacy and if it's something you can do, love making is probably, you know, a very important part of staying together and staying loving.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Otherwise you might just as well be good friends, you know.
Yeah. So do you practice what you preach?
I do try to. Well, actually, of late, having mentioned my husband has ADHD, and he can be very trying at times, in a nice way. I have lately, been obsessed with love. I know that sounds crazy, but I've just been thinking so much about the difference that love makes, practicing love, being loving. And I have been consciously doing that in the last few weeks. And believe me, it's night and day, because who doesn't want to feel loved, right? And of course, he's loving it because he can feel that I'm more loving. Even if we're having an argument, I look at him and I say to myself, I really love you. And then I really can't carry on arguing. And it's made a huge difference, honestly. I don't know if it sounds a bit vague or banal, but love is everything, I think.
I think you're right. And I think love is something that's, especially this time of the year, as it's February now and we're coming towards Valentine's Day. I think it's kind of touted a lot in a Hallmark sense. Other card shops are available. And it's not necessarily what it really means. And I liked when you said practicing love, because I think there's almost this misunderstanding, isn't there, that love is something that just happens. It's like in Disney movies, it's just this great thing that just happens.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and perhaps at the beginning of a relationship, yes, it does feel like that, but then
Yeah.
it becomes something different. Tell me a little bit more about practicing love.
Well, I suppose the key thing I always think about relationships in general is it requires consciousness. They require consciousness and awareness. So practicing love is a verb, a doing word. And a lot of people say, well, a lot of people do this actually on the phone. Love you, love you all over the place. And actually, my husband used to do that. And I asked him to stop because I said, please, when you tell me you love me, first of all, I'd love you to start with I. And secondly, I'd love to know that in that moment, you really mean it.
Yeah.
And he hadn't thought about that, actually. He hadn't quite realized it was a bit of a habit, the love you. So I think that's conscious. What did you say? Practicing love is bringing in that conscious awareness in that moment. I feel love. I feel loving towards you. And then it can also come out in actions. You see something that you think your partner would love, a little treat, and you buy it, or you write them a little note. Practicing love. Yeah.
And is that something that's difficult?
Is it what? Sorry?
Is that something that's difficult?
Oh, difficult. Yes. Especially, I mean, this is why I think some couples will say, oh, that might sound a bit, airy fairy. It's difficult. It's difficult if you're not in the habit and other things have got in the way. And you just feel like, how do you get into that space? Because so often, with anything, actually, I was talking yesterday to someone about, reaching out for food and I don't really need it. I would have to, and it's a habit, I would have to psych myself up to not doing that. I don't, telling myself some things. It's the same with love. If you're in a habit, a cycle, and often communication between people, couples, can be a bit of a negative down spiral where they sort of descend together into this netherworld of not being very nice to each other. Where does the love go? It is difficult. So really, you have to, yes, it is work to kind of stay up here in here as much as possible. It's all about heart. And remember that you chose to be with this person. And no doubt there are lots of things you do really love about them. So even when there's difficult stuff going on, you sort of do that psyching yourself to reach your heart and stay there if you can. And yeah, let it flow. It's not easy.
No, and I think that's probably an answer that would surprise people, because you would expect it to be easy, but it requires some thought. And I should imagine as well that the longer you've been with somebody, the more you think you know what they're thinking, without having to talk or ask, and then get out of the habit of talking and asking.
And that's one of the most dangerous things, is assumptions, because then you do, as you say, you know what they're thinking. Oh, so you've already jumped 4 stages ahead, and that is dangerous because it takes you into all sorts of places. It can, be very damaging, actually.
Yeah. Not healthy to try and be a mind reader.
No.
So what kind of relationship symptoms or early warning signs would you think that a couple could look out for that could be addressed more easily if they're caught early?
Well, sometimes it's not so much a thing, a symptom, it's a feeling. So couples often say to me, as well as saying that they wish they'd come earlier, that they realize they've lost something in their coupleness. They don't feel as close, as intimate, as warm and loving. And it's very common when they've got small children. So I would say, be aware, sort of, that, take that as a red flag sort of thing. That it's often about the feeling, not feeling as close. And another one, of course, is communication. If they feel their communication often isn't going well, and it's a struggle, and one of them feels like they're trying to get something out of the other one, and that feeling of discomfort and frustration. It's hard to put your finger on, really, but usually couples know when something doesn't feel right. But they often wait too long, which is a bit sad.
Have you found that if one person in the couple has sensed something's not right, the other one has usually picked up on it, even if they haven't mentioned it? Or is it sometimes one-sided?
It can be, actually, shockingly one-sided sometimes. Oh, well, you never told me, that kind of thing, which is a bit shocking. I'm always saying to couples, even if it's not particularly good news, tell your partner what you're feeling. When you said that, actually, I felt really upset. Or, can I tell you about what happened to me at work today? There's this new person and I started to feel this. Share what's going on inside you. I call that process. And then you know each other. You find out more about each other. And you really deeply get to know each other. I've forgotten what your question was, but I don't know that one. But anyway, it's so important to keep on knowing about each other, not just at the beginning and then think, oh, well, I know them, because they're living their life, aren't they? 2 individuals make a couple. They're both doing what they're doing and feeling in their worlds. So the richness is letting each other know what's happening, and it's lovely and exciting, and sometimes means, oh, you need some support. Well, tell me, what you'd like from me. Can I help? That's so valuable.
Mm. Yeah, it's almost like the old saying, a problem shared is a problem halved. It's being
Yeah,
able to continue practicing that as well.
yeah, absolutely.
So, so would you say there are any bad recommendations that you hear in your area of expertise?
What do you mean bad recommendations? You mean I hear what couples
Yeah,
say about other therapists?
maybe on social media or in the media or something like
Oh,
that.
that they're
Like
told.
bad
Yeah.
advice or poor ideologies or something like that
Um,
that just make you like want to shout at the television or wherever you've heard it and go,
yeah.
no, that's not right.
Well, I mean, I am in my early 70s, so this might be due to this. But I often balk a bit when in the area of, seducing your partner into more intimacy, is dress up, put something glamorous on. And, this kind of, because it upsets me when couples talk about doing that, but really there's other stuff going on, like they feel a bit vulnerable about being sexual, or they don't, because they've been arguing lately, it's not where they want to go, but they think sex must be had, if you see what I mean. Sex must be had, so therefore they'll do something to make it happen. I'm not saying that all bad, but I feel like when it's put out there as the thing that has to happen and you've got to do something to make it happen, I get a bit sort of, oh, that doesn't feel quite right.
Ladies magazines, women's magazines came to mind then when you said that, this expectation of being a certain way in order for
Yeah,
and
yeah,
sex being really like vitally important,
yeah,
no matter what else is going on.
yeah, which is just crazy because sex, well, I have this thing. I feel like sex is an entity that it's a delicate entity that it doesn't just come in willy-nilly because you want it to. It comes in when it feels safe and there's an intimacy for it to come into and a loving emotional connection. So that's my take, that it reflects what's going on in the relationship. It's not separate. It can't be.
No.
Mm.
So obviously you offer this therapy as a one-to-one or a two-to-one option, but you've got something new coming up that you're offering. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I'm very passionate about, I love facilitating groups. And when I was quite a bit younger, I led a lot of couples workshops, and they were lovely, if I say so myself. And we did weekend workshops and all different things. Well, now that's not so easy, and I don't know if I've got the energy for a whole weekend. But what I'm doing now is, and I've done a few of them, this is another one. It's called Choosing Love in Your Relationship. And it's an opportunity for couples just to sit in front of their laptop, for an hour and a half, 4 evenings in a row, and talk to me with a few other couples about how they can be more, learn from me about how to be more loving in their relationship. And so we'll do some learning, we'll do some sharing. And I want to say up front, it's very important that nobody feels they have to share anything personal. It's all kept very safe and confidential. And also, I will always bring in a couple of little exercises or dialogues that each couple can do in their own space, muted on Zoom, and they can even take their videos off for that if they want to. And then they'll come back. And so it's a very warm, gentle process of learning some skills around bringing more love into your relationship, choosing it more consciously, and little structures that will help. And it's a friendly, even fun atmosphere. Yeah.
So is there some added benefit to being in a group situation as opposed to coming to see you, just you and the couple?
Yeah. Well, do you know, often couples say, oh, I don't know if I want to be in something with other couples.
Mm.
And I can honestly say that it's never been that they've not liked it after one session. They always say, wow, it's amazing. I had no idea. But to actually be part of a small group of couples, hear what goes on for other couples, we're not alone, relate to couples, and even friendships are formed,
Mm.
And I think it's hard to imagine maybe if you're not used to that kind of thing. But I want to say, trust me, because it really does work for many couples.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds to me like the kind of thing that might seem a bit scary at first, but if you kind of take the plunge together, I mean, you're not in it alone, are you? You're with your partner.
No. Oh,
Take
you're
the plunge together, and
yeah.
I imagine that you may learn that what you've got going on for you isn't so is more common than you thought, that you're not the only one, maybe, and
Absolutely.
I can
Absolutely.
imagine that's like a positive and comforting thing when you're with someone else in a group situation.
Yes, absolutely. And it can be quite joyous actually to see how other couples are doing things, and it is good. It's good. Couples shouldn't be isolated. I think that's important.
Yeah, I think when there's things not being said, then you imagine you're the only one that thinks or feels
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah.
Must be nice to find out that's not necessarily the case.
Mm.
Cool. Okay, so how does it compare then to coming to see you in a one-to-one or two-to-one session?
Right. Well, obviously, private sessions can go on quite a long time. Not always, but and it's very much about the couple. Either we're just together on a screen or in my therapy room, and very much about them, obviously, what they bring, and they're getting all the attention. And it costs quite a bit of money. However, this course is just 4 1.5 hour evenings, which actually mounts up to quite a lot of hours. And it's like it's more of a spread, it's not intense on any one couple, but it's little bits from each. And they'll get a theme each evening. We talk about a theme. And of course, they're just at home, relaxed. They don't have to go anywhere.
Don't need a babysitter.
Don't have to get a babysitter. Sometimes it can be a bit awkward if, little one, if your example was suddenly your, little one comes trundling downstairs while you and your partner are sitting there. We've had one or two incidents. So we've had dogs join in as well, and cats, I see a lot of dogs and cats in my sessions. And, but there's something about it, is that specialness, the ease of, oh, come on, Priya's on, let's do this. And also week by week. And I send them something in between. The next morning after the session, I send them a little email just reminding them of some of the exercises we did, and also one or two other things they might want to think about or look at, a video, say, for during the week. And they've got the week to kind of go with it, and then, get to the next week and, well, we did this and that, and it's feeling good. So it's a little journey, if you like. But yeah, it's fun. I think it's fun.
Yeah, and I like that idea that you send a little email. It's not just that hour and a half. It's you're getting something through the week to keep on at, and I should imagine, like, if they've got any questions or anything in between, the evenings, they can get in touch. And
always, absolutely. Yes.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So what kind of worries might a couple have that might prevent them from benefiting from this course?
Well, one that I've talked about already is definitely a bit of a worry doing it with other couples, which I think we covered. And I suppose just taking that to a different level, it's feeling a bit exposed, actually. They might feel a bit exposed. But again, I want to reiterate, they are always at choice, you know, to say what they want to say or not anything. What else might they worry about? I can't quite think of anything else. What sort of things do they say? They think they might feel a bit silly sometimes, a bit, you know, a bit daft, might be seen as daft or having more problems than everybody else. That's very rarely the case. I don't think that ever happens. In fact, often it's the other way around. They realise we're not doing too badly after all. You know?
Yeah.
You know, sometimes occasionally they say, oh, well, you know, because they're shy, you know, they're worried if somebody else will take over and talk a lot. But I do have a bit of a skill of supporting people to feel comfortable, very much, with a bit of humour and, you know, not being too formal. And they all say they love the atmosphere. So if they have worries, I would encourage them to, you know, talk to me before they book if they want. If they want to ask me questions, I'm absolutely fine, you know, talking to them about any aspect of concern they might have.
So obviously we talked about what kind of early warning signs or symptoms, lack of communication, etc. earlier on. Are these some of the reasons why people might want to come along onto this and give it a go? Is this something that's addressed in the course?
In a way, I think we can almost address everything, because I know that sounds a bit not, you know, that's quite a difficult thing to do. But although I've got themes in mind, and the main themes are based around choosing love in your relationship, so what gets in the way of it, what supports you to choose love. And I like to touch on communications and particularly arguments, how you can bring love into arguments and argue better. And, you know, love in action. So we'll cover all those things, but also because it's going to be a small group, I'm listening to them as well. And I can bring in things that they're talking about and they need. I would say if a couple are on the verge of breaking up, they'd be better off coming for an individual session. But apart from that, it doesn't really matter what they come with, because they're going to learn and they're going to feel they get something, whatever's going on for them, really. So I think they'll benefit.
So maybe if they're just feeling like they don't talk like they used to, or they don't make love like they used to, or something's a bit off, or they find the other partner irritating now and they didn't before, or these are all good reasons to
absolutely,
and cheaper than having to see a therapist one-to-one.
Of course, yes, all those are very good reasons. You know, we're noticing we don't feel as coupley, as intimate, as warm, we don't talk as much, we have more arguments, it seems. You know, all we ever do is talk about kids, it's all family, and you know what's happened to us. It's all those
money worries.
Sorry?
And money worries and everything like
that. Yeah, everything. Because yes, I mean, it's all about looking after your relationship, whatever's going on. All difficulties, you know, can be all difficulties, as long as you bring your awareness and willingness to, and the intention to use some of this stuff, then yes, and it's definitely cheaper than ongoing couple sessions for sure. Yes.
And preventative, I should imagine, as well, would prevent something in the future going drastically wrong potentially.
Absolutely.
I loved it when you said how to argue, because you're not pretending that you can make a relationship there that doesn't happen.
No. You cannot not have arguments.
But there's a way to go about it where it's better or easier to handle or quicker to resolve.
Absolutely. I've got this one little analogy. I mean, obviously I would go into it more detail when we're on the course, but I feel like, you know, if something's rumbling away a bit like a volcano and it's starting to erupt, you know, because once it goes, you can't stop it, can you? I mean, so it's looking how to keep it on the ground, how to look after those rumbles and take care of them. And it really makes a difference to know some of the strategies that help, and they help a lot, actually. Yeah.
That leads wonderfully into my final question that I have for you, which is you've said you've done these things, these courses before, this sort of thing before. What have people achieved from coming?
Oh, well, I can only go by their testimonials. I mean, they often say we feel much more loving and close, and we are communicating better, and we're having more fun, and our relationship just feels like it's on a different footing. And, you know, those are the kinds of things we all want, aren't they? So that's what it is. And I think I had a couple, I don't see them anymore now, but they used to say, it's time for our relationship MOT. You know, they used to say, right, we better go and see Priya. And I might have seen them once in 6 months, or then once a year. I think now they must be doing wonderfully, because I haven't seen them for quite a few years. But it's, you know, like so many things in life. I mean, we don't think it's, you know, we don't mind going to the doctor for an overhaul, or for a, you know, put the car in, or, you know, get someone to check the boiler out, do we? We do all those things. Well, we need a relationship MOT every now and again. And I think there's an element of that as well. You don't have to be in a terrible state to come on my course. You know, you could be doing quite well, but you actually realize you could benefit from more love, more connection, and all those things that will make it even yummier.
Yummier, I like that. And I guess these are the things that take a relationship from being something that's new and exciting into something that's going to last a longer time and still be, you know, something that you want to be a part of.
Oh, absolutely. And it's important to plan for that, isn't it? Because if you're in a real committed relationship, obviously you're going to go on together. You're going to get older together. You're going to.
And no one gives you a handbook for that, do they? There's no. Well, now a course. I was just going to say there's no course on how to be in a long-term relationship, but then now there is.
Well, yes, indeed.
Yes. Fabulous. So if anyone's interested in this, how do they get in touch with you? What should they do?
Well, I've got a website, priyatourkow.com. I've got a Facebook page called Transforming Relationships. What else have I got? I've got a subscription list, which if they go on my website, they'll get one of those pop-ups that will say, do you want to join Priya's list? Say yes, it's free. Why not? Got nothing to lose. I always put out nice little bits and pieces about relationships to help, you know, every month kind of thing. I think those are the main ways. I have got a mobile number, but I mean, if I say it now, I don't know. Will they?
I can put the details.
You can put the details.
Yeah, I'll put the details in for you.
Yeah.
Also, I've noticed that people who might want to get a bit of a taste for your knowledge on these subjects, you have also got a YouTube channel. So if they wanted to look at some of the things you've talked about already in the past, that would be a good place to get to know you a little bit better as well.
Yeah, if they Google Priya Tourkow videos, I've got lots of videos. Yes, nice little one, like little shorties that they can do together with their partners and laugh and giggle and then have a go.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for telling me all about what you do. And yeah, I think it's a fascinating subject, and I absolutely agree that there are sometimes these little niggling things that are subtle. You don't even notice it necessarily happening at first in a relationship, and then those little things add up and spell disaster further down the line. So I think it's genius what you're doing. I love the experience that you've got. Yeah, it's just such a good idea to be able to give couples the tools that they need to last the distance and still be really happy with each other. and to learn how to argue well.
Yes, especially that. Well, Claire, thank you so much for loving doing this with me. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.